why I always forget that. Thank you. Hey, Zaid.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. We just finished introductions. If you want to just do your name, pronouns, and access needs.
Yeah, sorry about that. Everyone, my name is Zaid Lari. My pronouns are he, him, his, and for access needs, I'm actually in the middle of taking my grandmother to a doctor's appointment. So when she's back, I might need to leave the meeting maybe like 5-10 minutes early.
All good.
Yeah.
Oh, all good. We should be ending pretty early today. I don't think we'll go full time, so that should work out. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry, back to the adoption of the agenda. Can I get a seconder, please?
Sarah seconds.
Thank you, Sarah. And we will, so any discussion on the agenda, any amendments wanting to be made today? Okay, seeing no discussion, looking to move or adopt the agenda with unanimous consent. If you would like to abstain or dissent, please raise your hand. Alrighty, so the adoption of the agenda moves, and we can move into number 6, our discussion items. So I first of all want to apologize for getting this out so late. There's just some issues with the getting it with the admin and stuff, but we have it. I also sent you guys earlier today the 6.1, which we'll be moving into next, the work reports for this term. And I was thinking today we could just look them over together. I can share my screen, and could be a good opportunity to have discussion about work reports, as it will be on our discussions every week. So we'll move into 6.1, and I'll share my screen. Awesome. Okay. So this is how the work reports I've organized with Almas to look like. And they were due on the 16th, which was last night at 11:59 p.m. And what we can do is see the last edits made, and that way we can see who has submitted and who has not. It should say on the side here. And so we can see that there was the last edit was made at 11:08 by Jess and Almas. And so everyone kind of got it in, 8 minutes late. Looks like that was all Almas. So looks like everyone got theirs, whatever shows was done before the time. So that is good to know. And, we can start with the president. I don't know if you guys had a chance to read these through at all. I apologize, it was sent late.
You're the only one who has access to the version history.
Yeah,
okay.
I was going to say, yeah.
Can you guys see the report though? Or okay, I'll see if I can download that then and send it before each meeting. I have to figure out how I can do that, or I can just share my screen every meeting. I'll talk to Almas about that. I didn't realize, or I can see if I can give you guys edit access, and that should allow you to see when the edits are. I'll look into that.
I personally think it's okay if you just have the edit access, and then you just let us know if, like, there's only a certain number of execs, right? So if you have any concerns about them submitting it late, maybe you can just make us aware.
Yeah, that's good on my end. Also, I'm just thinking for this, as we kind of do, it probably is easier than just listing to jump in if you have any thoughts as we go through, just to make this a little, just having more of a casual discussion, if that's cool with everyone.
Just also wanted to ask if these should be recorded, since we're discussing individual work reports, but
as far as I know, this doesn't have to be in camera. If we're more comfortable having this in camera, we can, but we're just discussing what the work reports, and these are something that everyone has access to, because they'll be uploaded on the site. So in the future, if we'd like to do it in camera, we definitely can. but without motioning for it to be in camera, it has to be recorded.
I'm fine with that.
Alrighty. So Gabe was not on a leave of absence for this term. He came back on the 1st. And so his hours should be normal. And so scroll through. It looks like Gabe did a lot of bargaining this week or this last period. All right, so Gabe has 60 hours and 25 minutes. And so I believe they're supposed to do, I'm just thinking in my head, is it 30 hours every week? And so he meets the hour requirements. And
Sorry,
so
that would be 60 hours and 15 minutes, right?
that
Is
would
that
be, yeah. You're right, 60 hours and 15 minutes. Does anyone have any thoughts on Gabe's work report? Anything we find is missing?
Just to confirm, is it 30 or is it 35 a week? Are you?
I believe it's 30, but let me just double check the
60 bi-weekly.
60 bi-weekly. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess they could do 40 in one week and 20 in the other if they would like to. So Gabe has met the required hours, and it is in the council policies, it says approximately or around. So it doesn't need to be on the dot. They don't clock in and clock out in the same way as like a regular shift would. But if they're drastically over and under, that's important to note.
Okay, yeah. I just thought that when I spoke down to Corbett, he was like a lot over, but yeah. Okay.
Any other thought? Let me check here. Any other thoughts about Gabe's work report? Right. The way we had talked about it previously was to hold them to the same expectations as we would our own work reports, and as LMS is holding us to our own work reports, which is briefly 1 to 2 sentences or 2 sentences per kind of area that it's required in. And it seems like most of his, other than the ones that are confidential, include that. And then so we can move on to Corbett.
So half of this document is Gabe and Corbett.
Yes. Yeah, there is some missing, and I figured we'd make our way down and get to that. Some people are on leave And then of course Jess's is shorter because she was on leave for half of hers, and it's explained as well. Corbett did almost all of these hours in meetings already. One thing that was discussed by Corbett, actually brought up to us, was last meeting, was to keep track of who is doing over hours, and kind of bringing that up as well. And so Corbett did 85 hours, which is over the amount that he is supposed to do. So obviously that's not ideal on his part and our part, or his part there, but he did meet the required hours. Is there any thoughts on Corbett's?
Corbett going over hours may actually be like an exception. I think we would have to wait to see future work reports, because I see there are a number of confidential items regarding SFSS member misconduct. And so those add up to quite a bit. I imagine that's not something that's going to happen regularly. Yeah,
that's a really good point. I will share it after this. I created an Excel where we can keep track of everyone's progress, and just to make sure everyone's meeting the requirements. And it includes just a thing, every time you put in hours, it'll give you the average, and therefore we can see if anyone is consistently going over hours throughout time.
Just to build off what Ryan said, I think we should I think it's like a one-off thing too. I think we, should also like talk to Corbett and ask what he thinks of his workload. Will it like resume? Like, is this like one-off exception, or this would resume back to like ideally 60 hours once, if he has like a light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing, because it does seem his workload is kind of more than others as I'm going through the other people's work reports.
Yeah, no, I can reach out to Corbett. I mean, looking at the reports before, he tends to be over hours. I know he was also, but it's hard to tell because he was also acting as president while Gabe was on leave. And in that capacity, he was doing 2 jobs at once. So it's understandable that he is over. One thing I was going to bring up to governance anyways is on a larger term project, is looking through the duties of each individual exec and seeing if they are doable, if they are within the hours, or if it's putting on an impossible to stay within hours, or if somebody needs more duty to be able to fulfill hours. That would be a longer term project, I think, for governance, but it definitely, I think, would be a helpful discussion.
You don't mind just hopping in there? Yeah, I wanted to follow up on that. So, if we do see that people are, truly consistently going over hours, then that's a discussion that I guess just needs to be had regarding the distribution of work within the executives, and then maybe within council in general. So, if one member of the team is taking on, that much extra hours per week, that might be something that we want to discuss about, where can they distribute that, or where can that workload be delegated to, either other executives who aren't meeting their hours as much, or if it needs to go into a committee or to counselors or something, just finding some way to redistribute. Because there is a lot of work that needs to be done in council, especially since, the previous governance change, putting a lot more responsibility on the executives and on the board in general. So it's like an overarching kind of discussion that just really needs to be had, whether that's with the governance committee or with council overall. That's something that we need to be talking about for adjusting, as time goes on for the next year.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the reason I give up governance is because I think for policy research reasons, but I think definitely also within council, and maybe we can work to bringing a discussion to council in the future once we kind of have an idea. I'll go kind of off of that. One thing that Corbett also suggested is that we go through in our last meeting, we have an idea of the responsibilities, and usually maybe today as it's a preliminary, but usually go through and say, okay, within their duties, why are they doing this? And so we can see what extra work maybe aren't listed in the duties, but then follow on the responsibility of that exec. And so it's taking them away from the duties that are listed. So if duties need to be changed or if duties need to be updated, that can be also something that we look at. Any more discussion on Corbett? I would say both Corbett and Gabe have met their requirements for work reports this biweekly report. But if there's any non-agreeance with that, that's also. Okay, cool. And we can move on to Almas.
Oh, I do, Devin, I do have a quick question for Gabe and Corbett. Their work report seems really, really detailed. You don't have to scroll back up.
Okay.
I was just wondering, do you know how long it takes them approximately to complete their work report?
I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. I'm just going to see if they put it in there because it's pretty detailed in terms of admin work for Corbett. My week.
I tried looking for both of them and I can't.
Okay. I don't know. I can definitely inquire. I know that it really depends on the counselor. And if you look through, like I looked through the edits and some people start and they just add as they go on or they add each week. And so, but I can definitely reach out to the execs and ask if we get an average of time because I do notice that it's not added into the work reports. So.
Well, my intent is just coming from that, like, you know, if these work reports are like, I mean, like, never mind, they kind of have to do it in terms of like governance, right? But like these work reports just seem like a lot to let them fill out. I'm not sure if they could like fill out a shorter version or they have to do this version, but it's just, I imagine it could be time consuming to, you know, if they want to reduce their workload. And, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we had discussed was that to hold them to the same kind of expectation as us, which is 1 to 2 sentences. Again, if we find like Corbett's are pretty detailed, we could tell Corbett that if it's taking up a lot of time or remind them that 2 sentences is sufficient. If we find that someone is writing essays instead of just those couple of sentences, it's always great to get information on everything that they're doing for accountability reasons. And but if we find
it's great. Yeah, it's great. But I just don't want to stress them out too much, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, if I can hop in again.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just thinking, you know, work reports do take time to write. Like even when I do my ones, which obviously they're not near the hours that they have to go through. It still does take time, and it is part of our job, right? Part of our responsibility there to be keeping that that record to show the membership what we're actually doing. So maybe we could also be asking them to keep in mind how much time they spend on writing their work reports and include that under their administrative hours. Just include that so people, you know, kind of know generally how long. And I agree. You know, they don't need to be putting paragraphs in here. It's really good if it's just jot form. So, you know, really basic kind of sentences, just jotting down the main kind of points of whatever meeting it is, like whatever they discussed, whatnot. Because like, yeah, it's just, some of these are sentences and, you know, like full on like couple sentences per point. And it's just, I don't think anybody really has the time to read through all of them. Like, you know, for us, if we wanted to really look into what the executives have been doing, it's just easier for us to gloss through, to look through a bunch of points to get a general idea.
Yeah, okay. I definitely agree with that, as well as for the general SOP public to be able to get a good idea of what they're doing.
I think when you bring that across to them, I think we should just like, you know, approach like take it from approach as like a gentle reminder, a friendly reminder, not like we're asking them to do it, but yeah, gentle reminder. You don't need to like, a couple of points is fine. You don't need to like write long paragraphs. And, yeah.
Like we can leave it up to them, like just remind them that it's fine to be just putting in jot form. If they really do want to be writing out full paragraphs, then all the power to them, because like it is giving more information to people. If somebody wanted to ask questions, might answer them, but maybe we should just remind them that it's fine to be just putting quick jot notes of what's been going on, just to get a real brief general understanding of what they've been doing in the meeting.
An idea that we could have, and we could either do that this week or after our next meeting if we want to have like 2 to kind of get an idea of, is we can just send a general or email, or I can from to the exec email list and just be like, hey, just a couple reminders as we go through as the executive committee, like point form is okay, work reports are required, things like that. But we can either do that this week, or if we want to come up with like a longer list, we can postpone that until after our next meeting, after we get an idea, like for example of hours, so we can see is Corbett's hours 80 next week or 85.
I think we can wait after the next period, just so we'll have the whole picture of the semester as well. And the semester reports should be out by then as well, so we can really round up all of the feedback that we have. And then, maybe the first week of September, we can then have that discussion with the executives, either through email or a meeting, not required attendance, but like, informal, just to go over some of the feedback that we have and, what we've seen from monitoring their work over the semester.
I think that's a great idea. So I will put that on our next steps for going into September.
I just want to bring up that like I think that it would be helpful that like when setting up like these expectations that we're giving the executives, we should kind of have like a performance or goal setting meeting to kind of broadly gauge what what their goals are in the job. And I think this is something that you might do to like do with an employee, but I think it's also worthwhile to do here with our exec team.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna quickly, I think part of that does kind of fall into the year plan that they designed, where each of the executives kind of fleshed out a little bit of what they wanted to accomplish over the year and what kind of tasks they were wanting to do. So if we were to take a look at that as well, that's something that we could also compare, the work that they're doing to what they had previously laid out for themselves at that year plan. It's somewhere from like maybe our first meeting, or I think, or second meeting. So maybe if we can find that and look at it, that'd be good.
So do you know if the year plan is when they were, what was it, like the first month they stepped into the role and were relatively new, or was it like just recently? Or like 2 months in or 3 months in?
It would have been when they were first elected. So that would have been, it would have been in May, I think. So
seeing here is like priorities could, kind of shift a little bit. They could be a little bit more ambitious when they first stepped into the role, but now they're actually experiencing their workload. The realities of their goals could shift, a lot. But okay, I'll keep that. Do you know where I can find that? It's in our folder, probably.
yes, or it might be in some of the minutes. I'd have to look at what meeting that's from. If you look through minutes, maybe you could find it. If we can't find it, I can always reach out to Corbett and see if he can send through the PowerPoint or their year interview. I'm sure he has it somewhere. So in a hearing, it'd probably do better to do an in-person meeting with the execs at the beginning of September. and have a discussion about them and how everything's going on their end. I know it's been a tough semester for a lot of execs as well. So have a check-in at the beginning of September before the next term, I think could be helpful. And I can try to find a date that works with them, perhaps send out a let us meet or and see, because unfortunately we can't just jump into their exec meeting. We'd have to wait for the guest Q&A, and I'd rather do it, I think, in a private sphere. We could even do no recording.
Yeah. From my perspective, like I just want to like help set expectation between us and them, because I don't want to be like, you know, this looming cloud, which is like whenever they do something wrong, like lightning just shoots out and then we just like send them an email. I just want to like, you know, build a good relationship with them and let them know, you know, we're here to support them.
Yeah, definitely. I think we had talked about doing that at the beginning of it. So yeah, I'll contact Corbett and see if I can try to organize something with the execs. I think it'd be easier to do it all together. Unfortunately, it'd be nice to do it with each individual exec, but that's a lot of time being put on our part. So I think we could try to do an individual meeting, and that way they can also disagree with any of the expectations that we make and let us know why.
Speaking of being the looming cloud, actually, I've got two things.
Yep.
Specifically in Serena's work report, she only uses first names and the total hours for meetings is not filled out.
Okay, that is good to know. So are we, sorry, I was just going through all this. Are we,
I mean, I'm not about to go in and count, like it looks accurate enough. I don't think she would, you know, add an extra hour in here or there, but it's a little inconvenient not being able to know who is actually attending a meeting.
no, that's good to know. And we can add that to the list there. I think that's a good point. Or their first names, but they can first names and position or first and last names. Position's helpful because I know there's quite a lot of new staff coming in, so it's helpful to know on our part. So just having a look here, was VP Finance wasn't on leave this this term, I don't believe. I mean, this work thing. Sorry, I'm just having a look here. And we're only looking at 30 hours and 5 minutes, which I believe is 30 hours under the amount that you're supposed to do, which is a little concerning on Almas's part. I'm just making sure that I didn't miss something on that that end, but that's what I'm seeing, and that would make sense with the hours that she has described. Anyone have any thoughts on that?
Well, it's definitely something we need to be bringing up with her then. To first of all, make sure if that's not a mistake, to find out what's been, I guess, you know, going on, or if she does need to go on leave. But yeah, definitely something we need to reach out and speak to her on.
Yeah, I can, if it's cool with everyone, I can send her an email. I'm just thinking I can CC the group. However, it might be, I don't want it to also seem like we're coming on very strongly. I don't know if anyone has, there's also some other people who didn't complete their work reports or have complete hours. And so the question is, would we have preference of me just reaching out and then passing on what was said last meeting, or have preference of reaching out on and CCing OC EO's email list, and so we can all see. And Sarah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I got a little lost.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure what's concerning about Alma's work report.
Yeah, almost only completed 30 hours biweekly, and you're supposed to complete 60. So she didn't meet her hours, and so we want to check in to see if it's incorrect, if she had struggles with timing, if she just didn't have enough work to complete, and see what we can do there.
So the execs are supposed to complete 60
biweekly,
2 weeks.
Yes, so approximately 30 hours, 30 hours a week, or 60 hours biweekly. Again, if they want to do 60 hours in 1 week and have a week off, they technically can. It's not smart, but they could. And so the question is how we want to handle that. If you want, if anyone has any thoughts about emailing it from all of OCO or just myself, and I can follow up with you guys.
I think you individually, like contacting the exec committee about their work reports is like a lot more approachable than them having to consult with like this like tribunal of like a whole bunch of CCs. And especially since like the message being sent would be effectively the same anyways. I don't see any reason to make that any more like awkward than it already is.
Okay, cool. I will just email, and then this will go forward for everyone. And then next meeting, I'll have a discussion point before we discuss the new work reports, discuss old work reports, and I'll report anything. And then we can go from there and see if we don't find any of the reasonable, like anything reasonable, we can go from there. And sorry, you had points about Serena's Ryan. So what, hers are quite long. But
yeah, she's very
ahead.
verbose. I think she's like typing these up as she's in the meeting. But if you scroll down, she starts like, you know, just like trimming names. So it's only first name and then like the total hours. It's just like very minor things. But, you know, if I see like, oh, you attended a meeting with Nancy, I don't want to have to then scroll back up and go like, okay, which Nancy is this?
Yeah, no, I think that'd be a good point that we could just add to that large email we send out or in our meeting with them is just a first and last names or position and first name.
I also have a point about Alma specifically.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
I highly suspect we're looking at her being like, you know, almost like significantly under hours, but I'm looking at like the meetings, the items, and like her total administrative work. It actually lines up pretty well with the other executive members and even like, you know, proportional to what like Gabe and Corbett would be doing. But her meetings are just really short. And then in the administrative work, she's just putting in like less work every day. I highly suspect what's going on here is that she just works fast. She's in like 20-minute, 30-minute, 45-minute meetings when the other execs are in like 1, 2, 3 hour ones. And then when she's drawing up her work reports, doing the administrative stuff on the side, it's like less than an hour per day.
Yeah.
So I think it's worthwhile considering like the number of items here because, you know, this like 1 hour meeting, 20-minute meeting, like these are not insignificant, but they're not going to add up to the same total hourly load.
However, I did notice with her 20-minute meetings, and I was going to actually consult, let's go back up to Serena's. She did mention meeting with Serena for Senate duties, and I believe that is separate than their executive duties. I don't mind them being there, but just something to consider. Exec is something else they ran for. I mean, sorry, Senate is something else that they ran for. And so I did notice that was a couple of her meetings as well.
Yeah, that's something to keep in mind and probably remind the execs as well, considering that I think almost all of the executives are on Senate. You know, just reminding them that that is a separate position. So any work regarding Senate is, you know, totally separate from their executive duties. And just going back to with the email, yeah, we don't need to go in like, you know, full force with the council or the committee going and asking what's up. First, it'd probably be best if just, you know, as you as chair to just go and, you know, ask her even through email or even on Messenger and ask her about it. What's up with that? And then, you know, next meeting we can talk about it. You can tell us what she said. And then also we can probably take a look at maybe some of her previous work reports to see if this is part of a pattern.
Yeah, agreed. Because I feel like this might be like the off week where she's also like not reviewing the council work reports. So, you know.
That's a good point. I think her hours do differ. That's a really, really great point. Also Serena is under hours as well, which same thing, I think, as I can reach out to her and also have a look at previous work reports. It's hard to get access to them because currently they're not on the SFSS website. There's a little delay right now. And so I don't actually have a lot of access to them, but I can reach out to Serena and Almas, as well as our next person, Matt, who I don't believe is on leave. I believe he's about to go on leave soon, but he currently has not filled out his work report. And so I will also reach out to Matt.
So looking at missing work reports, there have been missing work reports previously as well. From the few other periods, I've been kind of looking through them during the deadlines. So in our policy, there's supposed to be a stipend reduction for missing work reports. enacted by the VP Finance. I can't remember which policy exactly, or the specific amount. I believe it's like something in the range of 150.
Yeah.
But so when it comes to that, I guess this is another discussion item that we would want to talk about, but getting access to our financial records, I don't know if that's going to be something we have to request specifically and go in camera for. I assume so,
Yeah.
to look at those documents, but to know whether the VP Finance is actually enacting these reductions according to our policy and like, you know, on time. Because this was something that we did face as an issue, you know, this last term, where the VP Finance was put in a bit of a situation there, because it is kind of difficult for them to, you know, enact the financial penalty on, you know, their own friends. So that's why we did put in that policy for council to be able to do that should they not carry through with it. So something for us to also think about, and to, I guess, I'll ask Almas about, is whether or not she has been doing these stipend reductions. And, you know, I guess this is just the other discussion, is just how can we get access to proof of that as well.
Yeah, no, I can definitely reach out to me and Almas and having an ongoing conversation about that. So I can add it as a discussion item on our next agenda, but also reach out to Almas and see if we can get access to that. One thing I did mention last, or when Corbett came to our meeting last, was that if council, like if Matt had reached out to Almas to say, hey, I'm not filling out my work report, I'm filling it late for this reason, like outlined in the council policies, that also needs to be forwarded to us as well, because if not, we have no idea why it wasn't filled out, and it puts us in like kind of an unaware position. So I think that's something we can also set as an expectation at our meeting at the beginning of September. But right now, as it goes, I'll send an email to Almas, Serena, Matt, a nice email, and just be like, hey, noticing these discrepancies on the or lack of reporting for the work reports. Do you have any thoughts and explanations for that?
I mean, just to add on to that, I think that's the policy. I think the best we can do is like, you know, follow the policy, but at the same time, like promote, you know, like the financial penalty, like let them know that this is going to be something that, you know, that's with the policy. I think if, like, I remember in last meeting, if Almas is holding us to the standard, I think, you know, respectfully, we should hold them to the same standard as well. You know, I don't really agree with this policy. I mean, because in the real world, even if you know submit the timesheet late, you still did the work. But that's another can of worms. Like usually, like the pay would just be delayed if you didn't submit your timesheets, but you still did the work. So that's my kind of struggle here, but I understand its policy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's something to consider. And again, like in the policies, it does say that if for a family or like health reason, they can't submit it, all they have to do is let us know. And that's in the council policies. So if what we're missing is that them just not letting us know, and maybe that they're letting Almas and their team know, we just have to make sure that we're also being notified. So when we go through these, we're not demanding stipend reduction when they have notified that they, for whatever reason, that their work reports are going to be late.
Yeah. I think what Jade said really quickly too, I think it is within our scope if we had access to those financial reports to see if, you know, the VP Finance is actually doing what's in line with the policy. But yeah, sorry.
Yep. Okay. That all makes sense. And then, so just quickly, I'm just noting the time. We can move on to Jess, and Jess was on leave for part of this work report. So she only did a week basically, and it's $20. I believe it should be 2 days hours per average. So it's 22-hour pay period.
Sorry, do we skip Matt or do we?
Matt didn't fill out his report.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Out on comp. Supervisor orientation. And so it looks like she did 50 hours, which was more than Jess was supposed to do, considering she took a week off. So she was supposed to only do 30, but just met the requirement. This is another unique one where she was on leave. So I think before we'd have to see if her hours do change depending on working a full term there. And lastly, our VP Equity and Sustainability, it's not noted here, but Marie is on leave. So understandably, Marie did not fill out work reports. It was noted that that it would be started to put in, like Jess's was, in the work report, but that obviously didn't happen this term. And so right now we're just looking at all Miss Serena and Matt as having not meeting their work report requirements, and I will reach out to them tonight or tomorrow morning and hopefully get a response, and we can discuss that next meeting. So did anyone else have any thoughts before? Oh, Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, so currently we do not have any policies for paid leave of absences. So at the moment, do they get a stipend reduction if they ask for a leave of absence, or how?
No. Well, I mean, Marie's not getting a stipend, period. So.
Oh, okay.
That is untrue. Marie, it's not noted here. This is a good point. I can bring this up to Corbett. Marie has been working on a couple of projects that are time sensitive, and so she really couldn't take off. And this is the Palestine, as well as there was something else I can't remember off the top of my head. And so she is being prorated. However, she did not figure out her work report. It would be a kind of a gray area. That's a good question. In when they're being prorated, do they still need to figure out a work report? I think yes, for whatever they're doing, so we know why they're being prorated.
Yeah.
But we would just be taking away her whole stipend if we did a reduction.
Do we have access to the leave requests?
Do
they have to do a leave request?
Not really. That's all good, Ryan. Not really. We're supposed to be notified when somebody is taking a leave of absence, not necessarily why, but also like if, like, for example, if Marie is working these limited hours, we would be notified that she is, and so we'd have an idea going into the work report. All of these leave of absences were approved before we had that discussion with and we're notified at council before we had this discussion with Corbett last meeting. And so I think
Corbett approved these leave of absence.
Corbett does approve leave of absences. There was a discussion in creating policies so they can get paid for leave of absences like most workplaces do. And also a discussion about maybe having a staff member involved, and therefore it could be more equitable, like having an HR person who isn't the HR committee. And
so to clarify, Devin, we don't know any idea why Mary's on leave.
I know why, personally.
Okay. Like, broadly speaking, are we allowed to, like, I know we can't like know like the specifics, but you know, if she was on sick leave or if she was on bereavement or if she was on mat leave, things like that, I think we should be aware of.
Yeah, they're working out the different types of leave you can get. Right now it's just leave and then you don't get paid. And so Corbett is working on coming up with like different types of leave and what they would qualify, how many you can take, things like that, like you would have at a normal kind of workplace. And so right now, usually it's mental health leave. We just call, or a lot of times they'll say in their description. One thing that we talked about last meeting is like letting us know, but not necessarily having to let on all the information. So
No. I agree with that, but like I think we should know like what kind of leave. So for example, if they were on sick leave for like and they had like a doctor's note for like an indeterminate amount of time, like, you know, it's hard for us to like provide oversight or, you know, like shift responsibilities because one executive would have to cover another. or if they were on mat leave and that's like a, like a whole year or something like that, then we would need to know, the length and like the type of leave. I think we should have access to, not necessarily the specific like information of like, like I had like, a broken left knee or something like that. But I think we should still have access to their sick leaves. I was wondering if like the type of leave that they are going on, I was wondering if you could, help us get access to that.
Yeah, I can definitely email Corbett. Unfortunately, there is currently no system for leave, and so there are not sorted through types of leave yet. And so it's kind of hard for us to ask for what type of leave, but I think Corbett is looking at getting this sorted pretty quickly. And so I think once we kind of get us, and they were going to bring the motion to us and everything before, but I think once we get the idea of like they've formulated what will be mental health leave, what will be sick leave, what will be family death leave and things like that. So once that's formulated, it'll be a lot easier because right now there is no structure for leave. And so if the counselor wants to say it, like I know Marie's on leave, I personally don't feel comfortable sharing that because I don't have permission from her.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I can definitely talk to Corbett about leave and like having descriptions and mostly just letting us know who's on leave and when outside of council, like in advance as possible.
Sarah, I see your hand up, but I just want to really quickly add on one more point. I think to me, like the most concerning thing is like, like right now Corbett's building out, like under what circumstances will executives get paid for leaves. I don't know if this is like, a little bit concerning because, if, there is like a mental health leave in place and then suddenly everyone, goes on mental health leave, paid mental health leave, then that's kind of concerning to us because, how are we going to like provide oversight? Like if, one leaves to someone else being stressed out, I think, this is something that we should flag, for now, but, follow back up on in, future meetings.
Yeah, I could definitely add it onto our year plan as well as just like assessing leave and then also onto a future discussion point. Sarah, go ahead.
I was just wondering if we were helping Corbett at all with drafting the policies or if he was just doing it on his own.
I am not 100% sure on that end. I can check in where that's at. I'm pretty sure it'll come to governance first because it has to be policy drafted. I believe we will be consulted. I hope we'll be consulted. I can ask us to be consulted, but I don't have any further information about where we're at with that.
Okay. And I also had one last question.
Yeah.
So is the idea to kind of continue to do this, like what we did today, and have a meeting where we go through the XX work reports? Is that what we want to do going forward?
I definitely want to streamline the process. Today, I wanted to go through them together, mostly one because I wasn't 100% sure that everyone was able to access the work report today, and I did send it through pretty late because it was only due last night, and that's the unfortunate kind of way of our meetings. Second, so we could just go over what we thought of the structure together, but in the future, I mean, depending on people's capacities, it'd be great if we showed up to the meeting with specific thoughts, and so we could quickly go through them and then move on to any other discussion points. But as it was the first work reports we were going through, I thought it'd be helpful to do together. So in that way, is there any more like thoughts specifically on these work reports? Less like leave of absence and stuff, and I can make that a future discussion point. I just really want to get to this last one because I want to let Gabe know before our next council meeting.
Kevin, I don't know if this is something to consider, but if like we're lining up our meetings with the the end date of the submission of these work reports, should we alternate? So like maybe we'll delay it by 1 week, but it just gives everyone enough time to like review it. So like adjusting our meeting to fit the
Yeah, that is a good idea. We were before that, and then I had the extra meeting. So if we wanted to, we could do next week. That meant we wouldn't be meeting until September 7th, or we would meet. Bye, Ryan. Have a good night. We'd meet next week. And so I don't really know why we didn't have to meet yet next week. We can, but then our next meeting would be the 7th if we were to do that. Does anyone have any thoughts about alternating weeks / for next meeting, or keeping the weeks as we have them?
I mean, I think it works better for like work reports. Oh God, it works better to alternate or move the meetings 1 week later for work reports purposes. Another question is, are we going to continue with this time for the meetings for next term?
I realize you all have classes changing. Yeah. Okay. I can send out, why don't I send out let us meet. Oh, see you, Zaid. I know there's only like 3 of us left, but I really wanted to quickly discuss this last one, but I can also put it into an email or discussion we have in the Discord. But we can definitely, I'll send out a let us meet for September, or just talk in the Discord if this time doesn't work with people, and we can figure that out. But for right now, I'm going to end discussion on this, and I'm going to move on quickly to the last, which is 6.2 exec reports at council. And this is just a discussion that me and Gabe had at our last one-on-one before council meeting, is the space that is taken out by execs doing their like 3-minute like race through of what they've done in the week. It is mandated in council policies that they do it, but we were considering the possibility of changing it to a written report, because I don't know about you guys, but when they're racing through it so fast, I don't know if I actually like, if any of it goes into my brain.
No.
And it's kind of like my check phone time.
Yeah, I don't even know if they know what they're saying, you know, like they just read off the bullet point, which is no context, but they're reading it off, which gives me no context. So
yeah, so the thought was just if they can, I know it's more work for them, and he's talking to execs about what they would prefer to do, but to send out a written report or just remove it altogether. But I just wanted to double check no one loved those reports, and so exec would be cool with kind of trying to come up with an alternative that gives us more context to what they're doing. And also makes our meetings not go to 10 p.m.
So currently the reporting structure is is everyone reporting to Gabe, or is everyone just reporting to?
They have to, according to council policies, they have to report, it just says the word report, to council what they have done in the past 2 weeks, as well as the executive committee has to do a report. And that's in the council policy, so they have to do something. But it doesn't necessarily, I don't know, need to happen at council meetings. So, I mean, I can discuss more ideas with Gabe about this. It was just a brief thing we have discussed. I'm noting the time. So if you guys have any thoughts regarding new ideas for that, please send me an email or a Discord message or Facebook message, or however you want to communicate. I'll also I'll move it to the next meeting, but I just know time and I know it's getting late. So
yeah, the reason I'm asking about the reporting structures of whether or not like all the execs report directly to Gabe is because, you know, if they do check-ins with Gabe because he's the president, usually what happens is, you know, in any like real organization, the CEO would represent, you know, the company, kind of like how, like, you know, Gabe is the president. So Gabe would do a report of everyone else's portfolio instead of, you know, everyone, like, because if you are like, reporting on your own portfolio, you would tend to like more have like a bias, like combing through like the finer details of things. But like if it's filtered through Gabe, like this was just like a little bit more work for Gabe, but at the same time, it just provides us with that conciseness. That's also another avenue that we could explore, which is really like used in the real world, like everything, like if you're presenting to the board of directors, it would be through the CEO's report.
okay, yeah, I can definitely suggest that to Gabe in our next meeting, and also just see what the execs thought about a written report or that they can just send out before the council meeting, or it can be an attachment, just so, and my main concern being the amount of time that is taken out of a council meeting, number one, when we have so many motions to get through, and number two, what is how much I don't think any council member pays attention. And so I just, because I'm noting the time, I'm going to move into announcements. I'm going to, oh, Sarah, go ahead.
Quick question. So you said you were gonna move this discussion item for next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll say my thoughts later. Then.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I want to make sure that I think Zaid and Ryan would have some thoughts as people that have been on council for longer than I have. And so I'll move it to next meeting, and as work reports should go faster, we can talk about that. I'm going to skip our announcement today. Our announcement was that next meeting will be on August 31st at 5:30. Tentatively, that is our next meeting, but I know that we're looking at change it, and I'll send out a let us meet. Resolved to adjourn the meeting at 6:30 on the dot. Can I get a mover?
Labor studies.
Okay, thanks, Justin. And can I get a seconder?
Is that a second?
Thank you so much, guys. And so we'll adjourning. So for any discussion for this adjournment. 8, see no discussion. Seeking unanimous consent, please unmute yourself or raise your hand if you don't consent. Alrighty, that carries, and this meeting has been adjourned. If you guys, I'll stop our recording.